Yeah, yeah, sure. No, actually, what happens is if you look at, all companies which are directly, selling their products to the consumers, okay? So now those companies have a better, this thing that they generally command a higher P multiple. But those industries which are, into the classical industries, like, they are intermediate products and they are supplying to industry and everything. So like, if you look at, for example, Hindustan Unilever, the P ratio is close to about 60. When you look at Tata Steel or maybe TCS, the P ratios are close to about 20s. Okay. So generally, the FMCG companies or companies which are more into, driven into the business which are consumer facing, so they generally command higher P ratios. Okay, so we'll talk about that later, and it's a good question why those companies have always have a higher P ratio. Okay, so we'll explore that at just a little bit later. Okay, so Hyundai IPO. So can you read this, Abdul? Okay, so these are the key IPO details where the total size of the IPO was 27,870 crores, which approximately comes to about 3.3 billion US dollars. Okay, fine. So, so 1 billion billion dollar today, as we see, is about close to about 8,500 crores. So, if we multiply 3.3 to 8,500, will work out close to about 27,000 crores. But of course, this is at the time. Of course, this was just 6 months back. Okay, fine. The price band which they announced in the later on after the reddening prospectus was issued, the price band which was finalized was rupees 1865 to 1960. Okay, and I think eventually the issue price went to 1960. Okay, the face value of the share was 10, and the HMC retained 82.5%. That means the Hindustan Motors India Limited, they HMC, that is a Korean company, they have a 82.5% stake in the Indian subsidiary, which is HML Limited, after the IPO. Because earlier, before the IPO, they were having 100%. So that means they have offloaded how much? The offer for sale was for how many percentage? 18.5%. Okay, because before that, they were holding 100%. And now, after they had offered the sale, that I mean, $3.3 billion shares, so their holding went down to 82.5%. Is that clear? Okay. Now, these are the lead managers which we talk about: Kotak, Citibank, and HSBC, JP Morgan, okay, the Morgan Stanley, okay. So these are the lead managers which basically help the company to, and they are also called book running and lead managers, okay. So these are the merchant bankers who help the company to, the whole process of an IPO from end to end kind of a job, okay. So why Hyundai Motors company sold in, and now, because it's an offer for sale. So normally, there will be, what will be the object of the IPO. Okay, so when you are explaining an IPO, so you must know why the company is coming for an IPO. Okay, whether they are going to, like, when I was working with Idea Cellular, so we came for an IPO where, our job was to basically to expand whole over the country. So we are offering in about 6 states our mobile services. We wanted to be present pan India. So we wanted to roll out, network services across India. So that was, for that purpose, we have come for an IPO. But Hyundai Motors, their main purpose was basically an OFS, where, all the money which they are going to get is going to go to the promoters of the Korean company. So maybe for further expanding or whatever purpose. So then I explore, and research why, the Hyundai Motor has actually sold the shares. So Akriti, can you read? So, Okay, now here the purpose was to unlock the value because so far Hyundai was offering their cars in India without having a listed company in India. Okay, so the HMIL is Hindustan Motors India Limited, which is the Indian this thing company, and HMC is the Korean company. Okay, so they wanted that time has come that they should actually have their own company which is listed in India. Okay, because then it will basically help them to raise further funds and money from the Indian public or from the Indian financial institutions at a later part. So we are going to talk about that also. So the second one is called, this one just read. So basically, they had their own agenda that they wanted, because they now all the companies are going for EV, and so they need money for exploring further. And then they a lot of these companies do a lot of R&D, and sometimes companies have debt, so they want to do debt reductions. So this can be the would have been the possible reason for raising the money for the parent company. Okay, so then. So basically, all this, what is not available. This can, of course, be checked from AI and Chat GPT. So you pose a question why the company had gone for such kind of a thing. So you will get these answers from there. So whenever you're doing making your own carry, I mean, take home paper, so you can always do that research from the prospectors, from the red herring prospectors, and everywhere. So you'll get a lot of material. And then there is a site called Zerodha. So there you can get all the information. I'll just show you the site. Okay, no dilution of this thing. Just read this. So there was no dilution. Okay, so the new shareholders who came was only after the offloading of the existing shares of the promoters. So as such, there was no dilution. Okay, okay, just read about the company. Okay, so this is the base. I mean, about the introduction. So okay, read further. So, after the Maruti, when Maruti was there, earlier when, we used to have the Ambassador and Fiat, so they had, large presence in India. So then, Maruti came, and then it has spread all over, they're having the service centers and sales point. Now, even Hyundai has a great service points all across India. So, whenever, people used to buy, cars, when I remember when I was buying my, second car, it was in 2005 or 6 or 7, maybe 2001. So that time, we were saying that, we should buy a car which can be serviced everywhere in India. So we should not be finding it difficult to find a service center. So now most of these companies have their service centers across all cities and important places in India. Okay. So read this. Okay. Now, if you look at this data which I mentioned here, so I've just put it in this thing: India sales versus global sales. Okay. So it is giving India sales year by year. So it's a calendar year. Okay, because in Korea they follow the calendar year. So they have given India sales and the global sales. Okay, because the global sales will be always based on January to December. So if you look at the sales, the Indian share is close to about 11% it was, and now it's hovering around 14.61%. If you look at the last extreme right, so it's now almost 15% of the total global sales of Hyundai comes from India. Okay, and of course in certain years there was a negative growth. That was the COVID period in 2019. If you look at it dropped by 7 and 16%, and then it started picking up again. Okay, so global sales are close to about 41 lakh odd number of vehicles which they are selling world over. Out of that, 6 lakhs are sold in India. But only thing is it's a little bit inconsistent with 12 million. So 12 million is about 12 lakh. So I need to check how I got this 12 million, but it's about 6 lakhs. Okay, or 6 million. Okay, okay, read this. So, their revenue had gone up by 16% and their profit has risen by 29%. Okay. In up to 31st of March 2024. And of course, 2025 figures, I don't know they have announced the results or not so far. So, if you look at this was the data given in their prospectus, their assets, it starts with 22, 23, 24, and for half, this thing 24. So, April, May, June. Okay. So, this first quarter of June. So if you look at the assets, they're 28,000, then it went up to 34,000, and then it dropped back to 26,000. Okay, and now it is 25,000. So how the assets have come down before the IPO. So that was I was just thinking that what happened, that why the assets came down from 34,000 to 26,000. So I just researched and found an answer for that, which is written at the bottom. Okay, the revenue also, if you look at, the revenue has been growing, 47,000 to 61,000 to 71,000. Okay, and for one quarter it was 17,000 in April, May, June. Profit after tax is also growing from almost to 2,900 crores to 4,007 to 6,000. Okay, so just read the last this thing, Akriti, the which I have written there. Yeah. No, it is 10,782 crores, not point. I think now, they have sold, they have given a huge amount of the dividend, because now, what was happening was the company was, selling their stake to the public. Okay. So before that, they wanted that, they, whatever extra money they have with them, so they wanted that a substantial portion should go back to the promoters. So 10,782 rupees crore was taken out of the company, given to the promoters as dividends before the IPO came in. Okay. So that's why if you look at the assets, they dropped from 34,000 to 26,000. So that means this was the amount of money which was being paid, liquid money which was being paid before the IPO. Now, of course, the company was well within the right to declare the dividends before the IPOs. Okay. So that's a reason. Okay. Is it okay? Do you understand that, Akriti and all? So whenever you're looking at, whenever I was looking at the, balance sheet here, so I was saying, okay, the revenue is going up, the profits are going up, but then I look, okay, the assets have come down from 34,000 to 26,000. So then I, further went into the company balance sheet annual reports. Then I saw that, just before the IPO, the company has declared a dividend to its promoters sitting abroad. So all the money, close to about 11,000, has flown from India to Korea. Okay, so that's why the assets have come down. Okay, so now these were the some key performance indicators their return on capital employed is close to about 13.69 at the time of the IPO, and ROE, which is return on net worth, which is around close to about 12.26, and price to book value is 14.93. Okay. Now, if you look at the ROC and return on net worth, which is okay, around 12 to 13%, but somewhere I saw it was about 40% also. So we'll check. This is coming from the prospectus itself. So price to book value is close to about 15 times, 14.93, which is quite high. Uh, because the all India Sensex companies or Nifty companies, or even if you look at all the companies in India, they are trading around 3.5 times the book value. And whereas Hyundai was trading, price to book value is again based on basically the IPO price. So just look at Hyundai's price to book value from the screener. Just look what is the this thing. Just check what is the current one, okay? So which is basically screener. Right. Price to book ratio is 10.4. Okay. So it's now less 10.4 as against. So still it is very high. Okay. Because all India ratio is close to about 3.5. Okay. Fine. So now, so objects of the issue. Can you read, Akriti? So here, all the money will go back to the promoters after, of course, meeting out all the IPO expenses. So after doing that, they are going to whatever money they are going to get. So that will be, pocketed by the Korean counterparts. Okay. So this is basically, the IPO's reservation. Here, the total number of shares which are offered to the public was 14 crore 21 lakhs, whereas QIV got close to about 20%. 2 crore 82 lakhs was reserved for them. And the NI, that is, the high HNI and other non-institutional players, for them the reservation was close to about 15%. The RRI was 35% approximately. Okay, fine. So, and employees it was about 0.55%. Anchor investors they got about close to about 30%. Okay, fine. So, according to me, tell me, I mean, was it an IPO under Rule 6.1 or 6.2? Now, 6.1 is basically the rule. 6.2 is the rule when the company is not profitable, where they have to offer almost 75% of the shares to the QIBs. And 6.1 when the company has been, been profits in past and it has met all the financial criteria which has been laid down in ICDR. So according to you, what would it be? 6.1 or 6.2 IPO? Akriti? 6.1, yeah. So when you look at the prospectus even, okay, if you look at the prospectus, it will say that's a 6.1 prospectus. Okay. Let's go back past IPOs. Huh. Just read this, Akriti. The offer is being made. Okay, hold on. Okay, just hold on. No, I just wanted to show that, it will be given in the prospectus. Here the company is actually making an offer under Regulation 6.1, which means that company is meeting all the financial criteria. Now, here the company has two choices. Company can go for a book build or company can even go for a fixed price. So here the company decided to go for a book build rather than going for announcing the price by itself. Okay. So why? Because the merchant bankers, they always advise that you should always announce a price band where people can, you will find a better price discovery. At what price people are willing to take the issue. Okay, rather than you fix a price and ask people to take the price the shares at that price. So a price band is a much better way of looking, and finding the better price. But of course, a price band में इतना फर्क तो होता नहीं है. It's now like 1860 to 1960. So of 100 rupees or something. So they announced, and then as we'll see, what was the response? Okay, we'll see now this thing. What was the response? Whether it was how many times it was oversubscribed. Okay, and whether the retail were able to announce a good this thing participation, or whether it was the QIBs. Okay. So this was, the total, IPO reservations. Okay, have a look. Who got the highest shares? Yeah, Anchor Invest. Retail got, about 4 crore 94 because it was, a company which was 6-1. So almost like 35% of the shares were being offered to them. The employees got about zero point 0.5. So total number, so it's giving all the QIBs, how many got. Anchor investors, they got, 4 crore. They're the second highest. Okay. Then just read this, Akriti. It is. You can always reach 27,870 crores. You can ignore the points if you want. Okay. Okay. So since I was also looking, that it was 14.22 crores. So how many shares were there before the IPO came? So then I checked, it was 81.25. So it translates to about 17.5% stake, which was offloaded by the parent company. Okay. Then now we come to that document which I showed you, the basis for offer. Okay. So here they have to give all the. So this was the comparison with the listed industries. Okay, like I show you Maruti, Tata Motors, and Mahindra. So these are the three companies. Their P ratios are also mentioned. At what price they were being traded, and what is their revenue in these year, and the EPS, then the book value, the P ratio, ROE, and the market cap. Okay. So then in one of the listing prospectus, they have mentioned about the company. The company here represents the Hyundai only, Hyundai Motors. Okay, fine. So they said here the company has a shares value is 10, and revenue from operation is about 70,000 crores. Okay, so if you look at the revenue, so which company is having the highest revenue? Yeah, why the Tata Motors is having such a big revenue? I mean, what can be its main reason? Because it has a subsidiary abroad. Okay, JLR, which is also a lot of revenue comes from there also. Okay, then the price earning ratio we can see. Okay, so a lot of figures are given. Okay, so here now again, if you look at the qualitative factors, which the company said, these we are having a very good justification for this price, which is based on our strengths. Just read this. So these were some of the qualitative factors. Then others, just read them.